Recall that Brown versus Board of Education was 1954. The Montgomery bus boycott happened in 1955. If it is that Brown was so effective, why the fuck are these people having to stay off of the buses for 364 days to desegregate the shit, right? And so if you read somebody like Mary Dudziak, she talks about Brown versus Board of Education as sort of a Cold War imperative case. It was something that had to happen in the context of the Cold War, back to what I was speaking about previously, because all of these U.S. embassy officials abroad were like, hey, all this lynching, all this racism, all this segregation, people are mobilizing here. People are talking about, you know, ordinary people are talking about this here, like this can't stand. And so Brown is really a reflection of what the late, great Derek Bell calls interest convergence, right? And so he talks about interest convergence as this idea that Black people achieve racial equality, or that their long struggles and demands will be accommodated only when it converges with the interests of white folks. And the other part of interest convergence is that the harm imposed upon Black people and the liability of whites for this harm is subordinated to the ability of any remedy to actually improve the situation and the conditions of the dominant class. And so this is Cold War liberalism becomes particularly pernicious because it's meant to mollify the direct action, the direct democracy, to buttress this sort of more representational form, because as we just discussed, it's the direct democracy, it's the protest, it's the disorder that actually pushes the hand of the US government. But it's the interest convergence that actually, that's in the interest of, that sort of holds intact the system as such with a few concessions that can be absorbed. Because as we know, like, power funds its own opposition. And then it represses the actually effective opposition. And so in a nutshell, that's sort of part of the work that Cold War liberalism does.